Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Legendary South African former President Thabo Mbeki arrives in Sri Lanka at the invitation of the Capital Maharaja Group, meets President Dissanayake. Indictments filed against former Minister Kalia over the immunoglobulin scam and money laundering. Former Secretary to the Ministry of Health Chandragupta remanded again. Former Minister Duminda remanded again over the case regarding a gold-plated T-56 firearm. Steps taken to import a substitute for Kiri Samba. Trump says ready for talks with Iran. Pathum Nissanka scores a century against Bangladesh.
Former President of South Africa Thabo Mbeki met with President Kumara Dissanayake. The meeting was held at the President's office this evening.
During the meeting with President Dissanayake, former President of South Africa Thabo Mbeki said that this was his first visit to Sri Lanka and that he had been interested in Sri Lanka's national unity and reconciliation in the recent past. He expressed his pleasure at being able to visit Sri Lanka at such a time. Former President Mbeki said that despite the geographical distance between South Africa and Sri Lanka, there are similarities between the two countries due to the presence of diverse ethnic groups, religions and cultures. He further said that both countries face similar challenges in achieving peace and reconciliation, and he was willing to share the lessons learned and experiences regarding bringing together all diverse communities onto a single path with the President of Sri Lanka. Former President Mbeki expressed his confidence that President Kumara Dissanayake would be able to overcome the existing economic challenges and national reconciliation challenges by uniting diverse communities. President Kumara Dissanayake stressed that he is committed to fostering unity among communities and moving the country forward by overcoming the economic challenges it faces.
Thabo Mbeki, the second democratically elected president of South Africa and a distinguished statesman of the African region, arrived in Sri Lanka this morning for an official visit. He was warmly received at the Bandaranaike International Airport by Western Province Governor Hanif Yusuf, South African High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Sandil Edwin Schalk, and Group Director of the Capital Maharaja Group, Shevan Daniel, among other dignitaries. Following the official welcome, Mbeki engaged in a cordial conversation with those present at the airport.
Good to see you. Yes.
He then proceeded to Cinnamon Life at City of Dreams, Sri Lanka, where he was welcomed by Sanjeev Hulugalla, General Manager and Chief Executive Officer of the hotel, along with senior staff. Mbeki is scheduled to be the keynote guest at the Capital Maharaja Group's annual convention tomorrow. During his stay, he is also expected to meet with young entrepreneurs and business leaders in Colombo. Over the weekend, Mbeki will participate in the Gum at the program.
A renewed global reflection now turns toward former President Thabo Mbeki, a distinguished statesman who stands as a towering symbol of African political legacy shaped by the monumental leadership of Nelson Mandela. Thabo Mbeki, who served as the executive deputy president under President Nelson Mandela, played a continuous and pivotal role in shaping South Africa's post-apartheid governance. Although Nelson Mandela officially assumed the presidency in May 1994, many recognized Mbeki as the de facto head of state due to his significant influence and leadership within the administration. Mbeki succeeded Mandela as president of South Africa in June 1999 and held office until September 2008. As a senior figure in the African National Congress, he was a prominent leader in the anti-apartheid movement during the 1960s. Under the guidance of ANC President Oliver Tambo in the late 1980s, Mbeki led several secret negotiations with various stakeholders aimed at dismantling apartheid. From 1990 to 1994, he played a crucial role in the political dialogue that ultimately led to a peaceful transition to democracy. Mbeki's commitment was driven by a vision to establish one of the world's most respected constitutional democracies and a post-apartheid state rooted in justice and equality. Initially advocating for a united Africa, Mbeki later championed a vision of a prosperous continent driven by education, innovation and development. From 1971, he spent nearly 2 decades in exile, residing in countries such as Swaziland, Botswana, Nigeria and Zambia. During his time in Nigeria, Mbeki headed the ANC office from December 1976 to early 1978. It was there that he gained a deep appreciation for African cultural identity and black consciousness, forming a close relationship with then Nigerian military leader Olusegun Obasanjo. This relationship would later prove instrumental in fostering peace and unity across the African continent. Mbeki's leadership within the ANC was marked by strategic decision-making and a steadfast commitment to constitutional principles. He was widely respected for his integrity and adherence to democratic values. Having dedicated over 5 decades of his life to the ANC and African politics, Thabo Mbeki remains a towering figure in global political history, a living statesman whose legacy continues to shape the continent.
In more local news, former Secretary to the Ministry of Finance Mahinda Siriwardana stated that under the leadership of President Anurakumara Dissanayake, the country's economy has been managed effectively. He further noted that the economy is currently undergoing a transitional phase. Siriwardana made these remarks during his appearance on the Newsfirst 10 Questions program following his recent retirement from the Ministry of Finance.
We are currently at a stage where further development must be carefully advanced. Through debt restructuring, we've gained a certain amount of breathing space, and it's crucial that we use this opportunity wisely to implement the necessary economic reforms. If anyone thinks that we can't afford to miss the target set for 2028, they are mistaken. Fortunately, our repayment obligations are relatively low and we can manage them until around 2032. The restructuring begins with very manageable terms. I am deeply grateful to President Anurakumara Dissanayake for the trust he placed in me. The President has shown remarkable thoughtfulness and consistency in policy. There is a clear determination within the government and the President himself to change the path we've been on. That's why we refer to this as a transition. These arrangements must be managed with balance and care, and so far they have been. It's thanks to the dedication of everyone involved, especially the President. Personally, I still feel a deep sadness about how our country ended up in such an economic crisis. I warned my colleagues and former central bank governors that this collapse was inevitable. I saw it coming. The pain I felt was personal. I did everything I could, and when I had no other option, I shared my concerns with my wife.
Dr. Sirivardhana's full interview will air tonight at 10:30 p.m. on Sirasa TV and will also be available via Newsfirst's Facebook and YouTube channels.
The Attorney General filed indictments before the permanent trial at bar of the Colombo High Court against former Health Minister Keheli Rambukwella and 11 others in connection with the unauthorized distribution of non-standard immunoglobulin vials within the country's hospital system. The indictment comprised 13 separate charges and was submitted before the three-member bench of High Court judges Mahin Veeraman, Amali Ranavira and Pradeep Abiratna.
The charges against former Health Minister Keheli Rambukwella and 11 other individuals pertain to a conspiracy to misappropriate 144.4 million rupees in public funds through the supply of 6,195 vials of non-medicinal substances labelled as human immunoglobulin and rituximab to the Medical Supplies Division of the Ministry of Health. According to the indictment, the prosecution intends to present approximately 350 witnesses and around 300 evidence material during the trial.
The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption has filed 43 indictments before the Colombo High Court against former Minister Keheli Rambukwella, his wife, 3 daughters and son-in-law. The charges have been filed under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act and Bribery and Corruption laws of Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, former Health Ministry Secretary Janaka Sri Chandragupta has been remanded until the 8th of July by the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. His arrest was made by the Bribery Commission in connection with an ongoing investigation into unlawful accumulation of assets.
Former Minister Duminda Dissanayake and 2 women have been further remanded until the 7th of July in connection with the discovery of a gold-painted T-56 assault rifle at the entrance of a luxury housing complex in the Vallavatta Havelock area. The case was heard today before Mount Lavinia Magistrate Chaturika De Silva. While Dissanayake and the 2 women remain in remand custody, the court released Disanayake's cook, citing insufficient evidence to formally charge him in relation to the incident. In connection with the 2012 Greek financial crisis, a case has been filed against former central bank governor Ajit Nivard Cabral and 3 other respondents. They are accused of causing a loss exceeding 1.8 billion rupees to the Sri Lankan government by investing public funds in Greek bonds despite clear signs of economic collapse in Greece. The Colombo High Court today scheduled the case to be heard on the 10th of October, and the matter was taken up in the presence of High Court Judge R.S.S. Sapuvida. During today's proceedings, the legal representative for the Bribery Commission informed the court that the relevant case documents would be handed over to the defence today. It was also revealed that the defence has already filed 3 revision applications before the Court of Appeal challenging the rejection of preliminary objections related to the case. These applications are scheduled to be reviewed on the 19th of September. Taking these facts into consideration, the High Court judge stated that it would be appropriate to schedule the case for a date after the Court of Appeal hearing. The judge also clarified that the case would not be called for mere appearances and requested the attorneys to propose a suitable date. Accordingly, the case has now been officially scheduled for the 10th of October.
President Donald Trump says the U.S. will meet with Iran next week as a 10-year ceasefire between Israel and Iran holds for now.
During a press conference on Wednesday to cap off the NATO summit in The Hague, Netherlands, U.S. President Donald Trump said there may be a formal agreement at some point with Iran, but he doesn't believe one is necessary because their nuclear sites were blown up to kingdom come.
Look, we're going to talk to them next week with Iran,
We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not. The only thing we'd be asking for is what we were asking for before about we want no nuclear, but we destroyed the nuclear. In other words, that's destroyed. I said, Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up to kingdom come, and so I don't feel very strongly about it. If we got a document, wouldn't be bad. We're going to meet with them, actually.
NATO allies have agreed to massively boost military spending while affirming their ironclad commitment to collective defense. Leaders from the 32-member bloc pledged to allocate up to 5% of their national GDP to defense and related sectors by 2035, describing the move as a quantum leap in collective security. The commitment includes a review point in 2029, conveniently set for after the next US presidential election, to evaluate progress and reassess the threat posed by Russia. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte hailed the agreement as transformational, a sentiment echoed by several leaders, though it glossed over clear differences within the alliance. US President Donald Trump, who has repeatedly pushed for a higher NATO defense spending commitment, took credit for the shift.
Dr. Alireza Del Kosh, the ambassador of Iran to Sri Lanka, called on the United Nations Security Council to convene an emergency session to condemn what he described as US aggression. Speaking during a media briefing, the ambassador emphasized Iran's commitment to peace and stability in the West Asian region, including the Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, and the Red Sea.
Iran calls upon the United Nations Security Council to convene an emergency session to condemn the United States aggression. The IAEA Board of Governors to urgently address this violation, especially as Iran's nuclear facilities remains under full IAEA safeguards and supervision. Iran calls on the international community to strongly condemn this blatant violation of international law. The Islamic Republic of Iran will spare no efforts to maintain stability and peace in the strategic region of West Asia, the Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, and the Red Sea. And as the guardian of peace and security in the Persian Gulf, it attaches great importance to maintaining amicable and peaceful relations with all peace-loving countries.
The ambassador also responded to questions.
We are committed to keep security, stability, and peaceful area in Persian Gulf. Hormuz is part of Persian Gulf. We don't have any intention to close it because it is part of our responsibility to guarantee the peaceful area and stability of international transit through the Hormuz. But in any cases, if our national interest is violated fundamentally, we have all options on the table.
He also commented on tea exports from Sri Lanka.
Exporting tea from Sri Lanka to Iran is working right now, and we don't have any problem. Of course, during these 12 days, there were some problems because it is not especially for tea importing. It is because of the stability of region, and all ports were on the special situation. But after resolving this issue, but ceasefire right now, ports are open, routes are safe, and export of tea is working right now. And yesterday we had a good negotiation with Excellency Foreign Ministry of Sri Lanka, and the Excellency asked me about the possibility of maximizing of exporting tea from Sri Lanka to Iran, and I told him that yes, we are ready to maximize this importing from Sri Lanka. We don't have any direct exportation of oil from Iran, Sri Lanka. Some other countries buy oil from Iran, and after adding some commissions, they sell oil to Sri Lanka.
UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk has called on the Sri Lankan government to impose a moratorium on the use of the Prevention of Terrorism Act and to repeal the Online Safety Act. Now, he made these remarks during a press conference held in Colombo today.
The official news conference of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, took place this evening at the UN compound in Colombo. Now, addressing the news conference, he highlighted his end-of-mission statement regarding his tour in Sri Lanka. Now, he also reiterated and called for a moratorium on the use of the PTA in Sri Lanka, and he further said that the Online Safety Act of Sri Lanka should be repealed. He concluded the conference saying that human rights issues or human rights violations remain a matter of international concern, be it in Sri Lanka or be it for Sri Lanka as well as the international community.
The legacy of the past presents a daunting challenge for the new government. I followed and been encouraged by the speeches of the President over the past few months, in which he has publicly recognized the shared pain and grief of individuals from all communities. It is important to build on this momentum and to translate it into tangible results so that the truth of what happened to loved ones is unearthed. I also call for the moratorium of the use of the Prevention of Terrorism Act and urge an expedited review and release of long-term PTA detainees and prisoners. Also, the Online Safety Act needs to be repealed.
Majority of the previous governments of Sri Lanka did not extend their support for the resolutions drafted by the UNHRC as well as the OHCHR regarding the human rights violations that took place in the country. And Sri Lanka has always been rooting for the internal mechanism to cater to these human rights violations. Now, as the Human Rights Commissioner, are you satisfied with this internal mechanism that is currently there to solve these issues? Or do you think the international involvement is necessary in responding to these human rights violations in Sri Lanka?
Domestic accountability mechanisms and international concern. It is important that domestic accountability mechanisms are actually functioning, and this was part of the discussions that we have had with the government. Precisely, for example, how to create independent prosecutor, how to build up a domestic accountability system. And what I offered is precisely not only to support this, but also to make sure that it is informed by international practices that we have from around the world to build up accountability mechanisms that respond to the needs and aspirations and expectations of the victims. And it has to be always very victim-centered. And that's a process that is currently ongoing within the country. It, of course, human rights always remain a matter of international concern, not just here in Sri Lanka, but everywhere else in the world as well.
United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, visited Kandy early today. After visiting the temple of the Sacred Tooth relic, he engaged in discussions with the chief prelate of the Malvatu chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Thibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thero.
Well, I'm responsible for one of the most difficult issues, which is human rights. Unfortunately, the world is not in a good state.
He also met with the chief prelate of the Askiri chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Barakhaguda Sri Gnanaratana Thero.
A total of 32 senior police officers, including 8 Deputy Inspectors General of Police and 15 Senior Superintendents of Police, have been transferred to new postings. These transfers were made with the approval of the National Police Commission.
Deputy Inspector General Nihal Thaldua, who headed the Central Crimes Investigation Bureau, has been transferred to oversee the Monaragala Division. DIG Roshan Dias has been appointed to lead the Central Crimes Investigation Bureau, in addition to his current duties as a staff DIG. DIG Nishanta Soisa, formerly in charge of the Mathura and Hambantota divisions, has been appointed as the DIG for the Welfare Division. DIG G.H. Marapana, who served in the Western Province South Division, has been transferred to the Jaffna Division. DIG G.A.N.L. Vijay, previously in charge of the Kaluthura Division, will now oversee the Badulla Division. In addition to these DIG-level transfers, senior superintendents of police in several key regions, including Mathura, Seethabaka, Kuliyapitiya, Badulla, Nikavarattiya, Trincomalee, Ampara, Bandaravilla, Monaragala, Mathale, IGP Command and Ampara Range, have also been reassigned with immediate effect.
Based on the facts reported by the Sri Lanka Consumer Affairs Authority indicating a shortage of Kiri Samba rice in the local market, the Food Policy and Safety Committee has recommended the importation of 40,000 metric tons of substitute rice. Of this amount, 5,000 metric tons will be imported by the government institutions, while the remaining quantity will be brought in by the private sector.
The Food Policy and Safety Committee convened yesterday afternoon at the Presidential Secretariat to make key decisions aimed at ensuring national food security and protecting local agricultural producers. During the meeting, Minister of Trade Basanta Samarasinghe emphasized the importance of balancing consumer needs with safeguarding domestic farmers. He highlighted the necessity of maintaining uninterrupted rice procurement from local producers, particularly Kiri Samba paddy, at guaranteed price of 120 rupees per kilogram through the Paddy Marketing Board and Satosa. Further discussions focused on storage facilities for maize required for Triposha production, the potential importation of broken rice or alternative raw materials for beer and animal feed, enhancing local production of maize, canned fish, eggs and meat, importation of salt to meet consumer demand.
The All Share Price Index, or the ASPI, of the Colombo Stock Exchange recorded its highest value in history today.
At the close of trading today, the All Share Price Index stood at 17,740.46 points, surpassing the previous record high of 17,661.5 points recorded on the 12th of June. During the day, the ASPI rose by 204.84 points. Meanwhile, the S&P SL20 index also increased by 46.34 points, closing at 5,265.35 points. The total turnover recorded for the day was 6.85 billion rupees.
Newsfirst with the people.
The pilgrims of the Padatra Pilgrimage, who began their journey from Jaffna, have successfully reached Katharagama this morning after a long trek that spanned across several weeks.
In preparation for the historically significant annual festival of the Katharagama temple, the forest path from Kumana National Park through Yala to Katharagama was opened on the 20th of June. Devotees from many parts of the country who began their pilgrimage to witness the flag hoisting in Katharagama started their journey along the Kumana forest route, travelling on single-track footpaths and gravel roads. It has been a long-standing tradition for devotees eager to see Lord Katharagama. From the elderly to the young, devotees undertaking the pilgrimage were joined by overseas devotees as well. The first group of pilgrims who embarked on the pilgrimage from various parts of the country for the historically significant annual festival of the Katharagama temple arrived at the Katharagama sacred site early this morning. At today's flag hoisting ceremony held at the Katharagama sacred site in the evening, a large number of devotees participated, transcending ethnic and religious differences.
The historic annual Asela Festival of the Ruhunu Maha Katharagama Devalaya begins today. The festival will be held over a period of 15 days starting from today. This year, Sirasa TV and Sirasa FM media network serve as the official media sponsors of the Asela procession of the Ruhunu Maha Katharagama Devalaya.
The final grand procession of the historic Ruhunu Maha Katharagama Devalaya will parade the streets on the 10th of July, which marks the Asela full moon Poya day. Following the traditional water cutting ceremony in the Manik Ganga on the 11th, the Asela Festival will officially conclude. The police headquarters says that over 1,000 police officers have been deployed to ensure the safety of devotees and to manage traffic control during the festival.
The station master of the Jaffna railway station announced the launch of several new train journeys to Jaffna. He made this announcement at a media briefing held in Jaffna today.
கடந்த காலங்களில் சனி ஞாயிறு மட்டும் சேவையில் ஈடுபட்ட
This train that previously operated only on weekends as Intercity Express train will begin running daily from the 7th of July between Mount Lavinia and Kankasanture. This train will depart from Mount Lavinia at 5:15 am, leave Colombo Fort at 5:45 am, reach Jaffna at 11:49 am and arrive in Kankasanture at 12:13 pm. The return journey will start from Kankasanture at 1:30 pm, depart to Jaffna at 2:14 pm, reach Jaffna at 2:14 pm, then reach Colombo Fort at 8:33 pm and will arrive at Mount Lavinia at 8:55 pm. Seat reservations for this train will be available within the next couple of days through the Sri Lanka Railways website and at railway stations. The Aldevi train, which currently departs Colombo at 5:45 am, will depart at 6:35 am starting from the 7th of July.
7ஆம் தேதி தொடக்கம் 6:35க்கு புறப்படும்.
The Digital Marketing Association of Sri Lanka hosted a press conference to unveil details of the upcoming Digital Summit 2025.
Digital Summit Sri Lanka 2025.
The Digital Marketing Association of Sri Lanka held a press conference to unveil the highly anticipated DMASL Digital Summit 2025. The summit is set to be a two-day forum for its third annual edition, taking place on the 24th and 25th July in Colombo.
We realized not everybody has the opportunity to travel and take part in, bigger summits, bigger events like the Cannes or the AdFest or any of these, the regional summits. So we wanted to bring in that into Sri Lanka. So that's how we brought in all the speakers in the first year, which is a very small test with just a one-day event, which was fully sold out and a big successful event. And last year was the second edition, which was even bigger, 2 days. And most of you all were there at that summit. There was a lot of knowledge being shared. We had over 25 speakers at the summit. So this year is going to be even bigger.
Some key highlights this year, one of which is, I think, the most importantly, national level endorsement that we have received for the summit this year. We did receive national support last year as well, which we were very proud of. But this year we have received official an endorsement from the Ministry of Digital Economy. We have official endorsement from the Ministry of Tourism together with the Sri Lankan Tourist Promotion Bureau as well as the Sri Lankan Convention Bureau. It's a huge point of recognition and the fact that we can establish this and bring this experience to the industry in Sri Lanka. This year, another activity or another goal that we had was to actually reach out to the region. We officially opened our doors to international participation and international delegates. We did this in a small way last year, but this year we really wanted to showcase to the region and to the world that Sri Lanka can be the hub for where digital minds converge.
The DMASL Digital Summit 2025 is poised to become South Asia's premier digital marketing gathering, welcoming international delegates for the first time. This significant expansion aims to foster unparalleled regional collaboration and knowledge exchange. Under the theme Rise of Digital Asia, the summit will convene South Asia's leading minds, industry leaders and digital innovators. The event is designed to inspire, accelerate digital transformation and empower visionaries to push boundaries in digital marketing, technology and innovation. MTV, MBC Media Networks and Newsfirst are the electronic media partners of the event.
AHK Sri Lanka hosted a breakfast dialogue this morning highlighting a positive economic outlook and outlining stable investment plans.
The delegation of German Industry and Commerce in Sri Lanka today hosted an exclusive breakfast dialogue in Colombo. The event unveiled the findings of the AHK Business Barometer Sri Lanka Spring 2025 edition. The event brought together a distinguished audience comprising business partners, media representatives and industry stakeholders who engaged in a high-level exchange of economic insights and future expectations for both the local and international business environments.
The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka held its 4th annual Economic and Tax Symposium today.
CA Sri Lanka held its 4th annual Economic and Tax Symposium under the theme Tax Reforms and Economic Resilience, Driving the Nation to Progress. Key topics discussed included global trade uncertainties, challenges in attracting foreign direct investment, the halt of SOE restructuring process and the need for forward-looking tax reforms.
When we look at Sri Lanka's growth performance and the targets made by Sri Lankan authorities as well as IMF, what I find is any growth rate between 4.5 and 5 are zero growth rates. Anything below that is negative. Anything below 4.5% is negative. So what is happening, what we are planning today is to have either a zero growth rate or a negative growth rate, which will not help Sri Lanka to have this recovery to the road. The road to recovery is actually it's a rugged road because of that reason. What should be planned is to have at least a growth rate of 8% or more. If you have more than 8%, that will be better for Sri Lanka. But what we find today with the present type of economic policies, Sri Lanka is planning either a negative or a zero growth rate in the future, which will not help Sri Lanka to do anything.
These discussions focused on their impact on Sri Lanka's recovery and the importance of staying adaptable in a fast-changing global economy. The event served as a platform for stakeholders to stay updated on global tax developments and share insights on practical issues faced by taxpayers.
Global CEO Top Business Women Awards ceremony was held in Colombo.
The Global CEO Top Business Women Awards ceremony recognizing outstanding women in the world of business was held in Colombo yesterday. Awards were presented under 3 main categories: Top Business Conglomerate, Excellence in Business Leadership, and Professionalism, celebrating women who have made remarkable contributions in their respective fields.
This awards program is unique. The selection was conducted purely on merit. There was no registration fee, no processing fee. It is completely on merit basis. Our panel of judges work independently and with integrity to ensure fairness throughout.
A total of 60 awards were presented at the event. Among the recipients was Chetan Aliyanage, Chief Talent Officer of the Capital Maharaja Group, who was honored for excellence in human resource management.
This award ceremony is more than recognition. It's a statement that women's leadership matters and that progress is only possible when talent is recognized regardless of gender. In today's fast-changing world, organizations need leaders who can adapt, empathize, and drive meaningful transformation. Women bring all of this. Women bring all of this and more. When women lead, communities thrive, business grow, and economies strengthen.
The ambassador of Indonesia also graced the event.
Just like Sri Lanka, Indonesia is witnessing a powerful transformation where women are rising to the forefront of leaders across government, civil society, and especially in business. In Indonesia, women are the backbone of our economy. Micro, small, and medium enterprises contribute over 60% to the national GDP, and more than 60% of these businesses are managed by women. And globally, Indonesia now ranks among the top 10 countries for female business leaders. Sri Lanka, too, has made remarkable progress. From women entrepreneurs driving innovation to bold initiatives supporting women in leadership, Sri Lanka is demonstrating real commitment to gender equality. But even as we celebrate these achievements, we must also recognize that much work remains. Across the world, including in Indonesia and Sri Lanka, I'm sure that women still face a range of persistent challenges. Unequal access to leaders' roles, disparities in pay and career opportunity, cultural and social expectations, limited access to finance and professionals network, and many more. These challenges are real and they demand action. That is why women in positions of influence, like many of us here tonight, have a responsibility to be change makers.
A book authored by Imtiaz Bakir Makar was launched in Colombo yesterday.
The book titled Hard Sakshya, which translates to Conscience, authored by Imtiaz Bakir Makar, was launched yesterday at the Colombo Foundation Institute. The event was attended by a number of distinguished guests, including Leader of the Opposition Sajid Premadasa, members of Parliament representing the opposition, senior officials from the Administrative Service, former President Secretary Austin Fernando, and former President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, President's Counsel Salia Piris.
We must understand the issues faced by the people, especially those who can't speak about their issues, and fulfill our duties. Therefore, let's have an ambition to do just that. Sri Lanka has faced many decades of bloodshed. Many people have paid the price with their lives. Instead of going back to the same fate, let's act responsibly. There are various ideas. Let's discuss and find a solution together. If we don't do this, we will have to continue to face the same crises in the future.
The second test match between host Sri Lanka and Bangladesh continued for its second day today at the SSC grounds in Colombo. Thanks to impressive batting performances by Pathum Nissanka and Dinesh Chandimal, the Sri Lankan team had scored 290 runs for the loss of 2 wickets at the end of the day's play in their first innings.
As play resumed on day 2, Bangladesh, who were batting first, had scored 220 runs for the loss of 8 wickets. They were eventually bowled out for just a total of 247 runs. Sri Lanka began their reply with openers Pathum Nissanka and Lahiru Dara. The pair gave Sri Lanka a solid start with an opening partnership of 88 runs before Lahiru Dara was dismissed for 40. Dinesh Chandimal then joined Pathum Nissanka at the crease and together they built a 194-run partnership for the second wicket. Chandimal scored his 34th Test half-century. Pathum Nissanka went on to score his 4th Test century.
4th Test 100.
Chandimal fell short of his 17th Test century, getting dismissed for 93. Naim Hassan claiming his first wicket of the innings. Chandimal's innings included 10 fours and 1 6. Pathum Nissanka remained unbeaten on 146 at the end of the day, following a superb knock that featured 18 boundaries. At stumps, Sri Lanka were 43 runs ahead of their first innings with 8 wickets in hand.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching.
Good night.